All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time this morning to join us for our Future Women's Leadership Forum. This model obviously looks a little bit different. We know that we are still unable to safely gather in person, so we have switched our event again to a virtual setting. We're not sure how many students we will have joining us today, if any. The teachers, our remote learning teachers it's been a struggle to get students to log in and join Zoom calls. Students are very busy right now navigating online learning, and a lot of them are juggling family responsibilities and working outside the home for a lot of the day as well. So it has definitely been a challenge for them, but we welcome any of them who are able to join us today. And we are excited to engage in a lively and productive discussion. So we are going to kick things off this morning with just a quick intro, and then we will hand it over to Cori Wallace, who is our first breakout session speaker. So Cori Wallace, again, as I mentioned, she is in brand management and marketing. And she focuses on developing relationships with core audiences. So as you can see, she has been a marketing figure since 2001, and she assists community-based organizations to create experiences and campaigns that help to extend their network of engaged fans and friends. So we are so excited to have her here today with us to share her knowledge and her passion, and we hope that she is able to spark, again, just a lively discussion and that we can all learn from one another today. Just really quick, before we get started, we also want to thank our sponsors for today. CNA, we have CNA Insurance with us, we have SCORE, and we have Bank of America as a sponsoring partner as well. So we want to thank them so much for helping to make this event possible and helping to provide this opportunity for young women and working professional women as well to partner up and offer this great learning experience for them. So Cori, if you are ready, I think I am going to hand it over to you to get started.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to share my screen with you, and what we're going to do this morning is have a really open conversation about diversity and belonging. I think that belonging is a core part of what diversity can create for an organization or for you as a leader. So please feel free to participate. There's going to be a lot of different ways to do so if you don't feel comfortable going off mute or going on camera. So don't be intimidated by this. We want this to be casual, and we want you to participate as you are comfortable. So let me share my screen. All right. I think it's important for you to get to know me a little bit before we get started. I am co-employed at two different organizations doing two very different things. So let's start with my name. I'm Cori Wallace, and I do live in Kansas City, Missouri. I am a hometown girl. I was raised in the southern part of the city. I went to high school at Shawnee Mission South High School. So this to me is my hometown, and I chose to come back here after a couple of years of living in places like Dallas, Charlotte. I've lived in New York, lived in a lot of different markets, but I love this city and I love what we're doing here. I think the young people of the city are doing some incredible things and are really positioning Kansas City to be a place where really anything is possible for young people. And we're creating a community where we do things intentionally. If you are a longtime resident of Kansas City, or you consider this your hometown, can you do me a favor and just put your hand next to your face? Either hand, right or left. If you consider yourself a hometown person, awesome. I'm seeing Talina, Tammy, Lisa, Donnie. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. If you are not a hometown person, I want to kind of welcome you to a conversation about Kansas City specifically and how we can create bridges to belonging in this community. This community, just like every other community, is reliant on people being invested in belonging. We want everyone in Kansas City, I think, to feel like they have a home here, like they have a place here, they can grow here, and that they are seen here authentically. And we're going to talk about diversity and inclusion from the perspective of belonging throughout my conversation today. So let's get started. So if you could, use the chat window and chat me your name and school or organization. If you just want to put your first name and your last initial, that's fine too. I can see some of you have renamed yourself, and I appreciate that. I just kind of want to know a little bit more about who I'm talking to. So if you could show me your chat, excellent. Tammy, I see you're from Wells. Awesome. We see a lot of finance people. Love that. Fantastic. I see a lot of sponsors and partners here too. I've got to appreciate that as a former development professional. That's great. Fantastic. Insurance, great. Junior achievement obviously is represented here. Thank you so much for introducing yourself. I appreciate that. I do put my age because I think it's important to really put myself out there as a woman who's still developing, still learning. I happen to be 43 years old, if that means anything to you. I think I'm in the life stage where I've gotten some confidence, but I'm still working on my skill set as a leader and as a professional. And if you are a student in this conversation or you're a fully grown adult in this conversation, I would invite you to access this discussion from a place of learning and really trying to dig into these really meaty topics. I work for two organizations, like I said earlier, I'm co-employed. I work for Rhyme and Reason Design on their business development team, creating avenues for people to get strong and smart marketing. Rhyme and Reason Design happens to be headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. Obviously, I work remotely because I'm sitting in my condo in Kansas City. I also am a tour manager for the Miss America organization. And the Miss America organization has done a lot of incredible things for young women who are focused on developing their passions and really changing the communities around them. Like we say at Miss America, we prepare smart women for the world and the world for smart women. The current Miss America is a woman by the name of Camille Schreier. She's 25, she's a pharmacy student and is currently spending her second year due to COVID-19 educating people about addiction and minding their medications, smart medical use of pharmaceuticals. So she is a compelling woman. I am pleased to serve her. So if you are comfortable, this is how you're going to kind of participate today. You have the opportunity to raise your hand in the chat. I can see when you do that. You have the opportunity to, like you just did, answer questions in the chat. And then you can also PM me at any time. So I can see your questions. If you don't want your questions to be broadcast to everybody in the chat window, that's absolutely fine. So we're going to explore the language of not just diversity today, but belonging. And we're going to review the ways that you can create a sense where a lot of diverse people feel comfortable with you as a leader. I think there's a strong business case for diversity, equity, and inclusion. We'll talk about that a little bit at the end. But really what I focus on today is how creating a sense of belonging for other people can be your strongest asset as a leader. If you are the opportunity, or you offer people the opportunity to bridge into your organization or to bridge into you as a woman, you really are empowering others, and you're creating an environment where other people feel seen, heard, and affirmed. Ultimately, as a leader, you can't do anything unless you accomplish those things. So a sense of belonging and affirmation, I think, is a cornerstone to really building an environment where diversity can thrive. Diversity is something that we'll talk about the definition of diversity here. But I think what we need to consider is an old adage, you are influenced by the people that you surround yourself with. Some people have said 4, some people have said 6. But when you read this quote, what's your initial response to it? Does it ring true for you? Are you challenged by it? Do you think that the world really works that way? And you can answer me in the chat. So when you see this quote, if you're familiar with it, or even if you're seeing it for the first time, what's the first thing that springs to mind when you look at this quote? Do you think that it rings true for you? Are you challenged by it? Or do you want to add a kind of a caveat to that? You are most influenced by the 6 people who surround you. Choose wisely. So it rings true to Shannon. Rings true, very true. Seeing for the first time, so I'm asking, who are my 6? Well, I think there is going to be a session after mine that talks about your board of advisors. And so that's an opportunity for you to dig deeper into who your six might be. Who is surrounding you every day? I think it's so interesting what Donnie said. Rings pretty true for me. Definitely saw a change in friends when I graduated from college and started my career. Same, absolutely the same. I think about the seasons of my life and the seasons of my leadership journey and how where I was as a leader, as a woman, as a person, those things evolved. My identities evolved, how I saw myself evolved, and so who I surrounded myself with evolved. And I'm proud to say that right now in the season of my life, the six people that surround me the most often reflect my personal values, reflect where I think I'm going, reflect how I see myself, and they see me in the way that I want to see myself. And they see things that are possible for me that I might not see as potentially possible. I think it's so important, yes, in the pivotal years of determining your path. Joanna offered something super smart there, where she's like, there are years that are pivotal, and I 100% agree with that. I think what's so interesting about diversity and equity conversations is that every experience for a marginalized person has the potential to pivot them in a positive direction. So when you are surrounding yourself with six people, if those six people just look and think and act like you're really missing out on an opportunity to, as a self-identified marginalized person, or even as somebody who does not identify as marginalized, to, to try something new, to do something different, to see yourself differently. So I think it's important to note that the six people around you should not just be an echo chamber for what you think to be true about the world. They should challenge you, they should motivate you, they should inspire you. And all of those things are kind of functions of diversity, equity, and belonging. You belong with those people, but if they're a diverse group, you're really going to be able to access things that are different, that might not have been accessible to you before, which creates a sense of equity. So here are the working definitions that we're going to talk about today. Diversity, and here I'm defining it as a mixed composition, a diversity of perspectives. It could be racial diversity, it could be socioeconomic diversity, it could be disability or ability diversity, it could be mindset diversity, it could be a diversity in perspectives. Just know that diversity here implies a mixed composition, a diversity of perspectives that are brought from a difference in identities. Equity, to me, is defined today as an environment or experience of equality and access or voice. I really think about equity in a business environment or in a leadership environment as having access to resources, access to people, access to a conversation, access to an experience. So that's when I think about equity. Does everyone have equal access to something? Equal access to the conversation, equal access to contributing, equal access to a resource. And inclusion is really a function of those two things. Inclusion is really a function of diversity and equity, right? Now, belonging is really, for me, addressing the gap in longing to be. There's an old African saying where you don't say hello, you say, I see you. And I think belonging is an opportunity as a leader to really change how people view your organization, your company, your goals, objectives, endeavor as a leader. I think you really have, we're going to talk about what a leadership mandate is in a second, but I think you really have mandates as female leaders to create an environment where people feel like they are seen, like they have a sense of place. Everyone has a longing to just be themselves with other people. And being yourself in a lot of different stages of your life is going to look different. I think it's so interesting. Joanna talked about pivotal years of determining your path. Who you are right now is going to evolve and change and grow. And people seeing you for who you are in that moment is critical to a sense of belonging. You really can't belong anywhere if you can't bring your full self to the table. And ultimately, we don't share everything about our lives or our identities with others in every environment. But I think there needs to be a space where you can share, or you do feel comfortable sharing things that inform your decisions as a leader. You don't want to hear a filtered response or discussion about, if you're trying to solve a problem, you don't want filtered answers to how someone's going to solve the problem. And in order to solve the problem as a team, you really need, as a leader, to get everyone's full perspectives at the table. And belonging is a function of allowing that to happen. You really do have a leadership mandate. And so at this time, we're going to break into breakout groups. It's going to be really quick. I'm telling you, it's going to be like a minute. So I am going to stop sharing for a quick minute. Your prompt when you break into breakout groups is the question that's on your screen right now. What can belonging creation do for you as a leader? What can creating an environment where people feel belonging, where they feel a sense of belonging or commitment do for you as a leader? And you can speak to this in chat. You can talk about it amongst yourself in your group. I'm just going to randomly assign you. Let me stop sharing. Participants, here we go. You know what's funny? I don't know that we can break into breakout groups. Jenny, do you know if we can do that? I'm not seeing that here.
I believe we can. Just one second.
Okay, thank you.
How many different groups do you want?
Let's say there's 43. Let's say 6.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Welcome back. I see some of you returning. And so as you return, if you could do me a favor and rename yourself. So you click on those three little dots that are at the upper right-hand corner of your face, and you can rename yourself with your name, your first name, and what creating a sense of belonging can do for you. And you can put it in 2 words. If you could put it in 2 words, that's ideal. So I'm going to put Cori, create vulnerability. So the prompt here is if you want to rename yourself with your name and the one thing that creating an environment of belonging can do for you as a leader, you can change your name, and you do so by clicking the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner of your image. Great. Thank you. Okay. I think everyone has returned. Yes, everyone has returned. Great. So I see some name changes. I appreciate that. Understanding. I really like that a lot. Awesome. Okay. So this is where I'm going to ask you to share verbally if you're comfortable. We're going to do a little guided learning exercise, and we're kind of wrapping up my session. So just so you know, we're going to go towards, Jenny, we're going to go until 10:45. Is that right? Or sorry, 9:45. I'm so sorry, 9:45. I'm on East Coast time on my computer. 9:45.
If you want to wrap up at 9:45, that's okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So the rename exercise was this. Thanks, Shannon. What you do is you click on the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner of your image, and you click on that, and you can put rename. So you can put your first name and what creating a sense of belonging does for you as a leader. And I did it in 2 words. I said creates vulnerability. So let's talk a little bit about what you do when you walk into a room. You are going to walk into a lot of spaces as a leader. And some of those spaces, you're not going to be a leader in that space. You're not going to be a visible influencer in that space. You're there to either learn, follow, create an environment where other people can lead, contribute to a conversation, whatever. So what we want to do is kind of identify or really paint a picture of what belonging looks like. So I'm going to ask you a question, and you're happy to go off mute and answer this question. Raise your hand if that's the way you feel most comfortable participating, and I'll call on you. But feel free to popcorn it out. You walk into a room of your peers. These are your peers. These are people where you are at the same assumptive level as them. You don't feel necessarily intimidated by them. What does belonging look like to you? You walk into a room of your peers. What does belonging look like to you? Does anyone want to offer their experiences?
A seat at the table.
A seat at the table. Thank you, Betsy.
For me, it's really recognition that when somebody walks into a room, you have eye-to-eye contact with your peers, whether that's a broad range of folks in an organization, in the acknowledgement of entering that room.
Yes, it's so interesting how even a physical acknowledgement, like a looking up and making eye contact, I so appreciate that, like specific directive of looking up at someone and making eye contact with them, and even like waving to them or gesturing to them or come sit with me, those are things that create a sense of belonging. I appreciate that. Those are actionable steps we can all take.
Yeah.
You know,
This is Dania. I would also say it's helpful, I think, when people know my name or they recognize me, just that warm feeling like, you know, if you're walking into a room and you don't know anybody, but maybe one person, and that one person catches your eye and welcomes you in, I think that's huge. So if you walk into a room full of people that do that, you would totally feel a sense of belonging.
yes, agreed. Even knowing your name, which is the core part of your initial business or professional identity, is huge. You know what's cool about today is I see names I recognize. I see women in this community that have done things for this community, that continue to contribute, that are on an upward trajectory professionally. And I think even having the opportunity to see your names in a Zoom call is such a blessing to me. I wish we would create that environment intentionally in all professional environments, right? Because a sense of belonging begins with someone knowing your name and acknowledging you for what you bring to the table, or at least demonstrating curiosity about what your name is. There are simple ways to do that. Sitting down next to somebody and saying, I don't believe we've met. Can you tell me your name? Easy peasy. What else? I see in the chat body language, yes, creating a feeling of significance, either verbally or otherwise. That is a tall order, but so important.
Yes.
I really appreciate that comment a lot.
Yes, hi, this is Sandra, and I think for me, basically when you're walking into a room with your peers, again, these are people who know me, they accept me for myself and the value that I add to the team, whether I'm in charge or not, and I think that's so very important just for acceptance. Accept me for who I am, my beliefs, my values, and know that I am a valuable member of that team. And so my peers know me. They know me, and that's a good warm feeling as well too.
Yes, acknowledgement and awareness of what you bring to the table, so important. We're gonna have to skip this video, but this is an important slide. Here are some leadership choices that I'm learning more about as a diversity, equity, and inclusion volunteer for a number of organizations that lead to feelings of belonging. So if you're looking for other tips and tricks to create a space for people to feel a sense of belonging, even if you seemingly have no bridge into their experience, you know very little about them as a person, or you want to create an environment as a leader where people feel a sense of acknowledgement, belonging, safety, security. The first thing you can do is a use of preferred or requested pronouns. And I think this is becoming more and more of a salient part or a seen part of people's identity. They say, for example, my name is Cori Wallace. My preferred pronouns are she, hers. And what that means is I present myself in a certain way to the world, and this is how you can best connect with me. That is becoming more and more common. And I think I'm seeing that in my work with Generation Z, certainly. There are plenty of Generation Z members of that particular demographic that understand the use of preferred pronouns as one way to connect with another person on their level, on their terms, in a way where they feel comfortable. So it's something to think about. Offering ease and accessibility or even personal choice to those with visible and invisible disabilities. I think the times when you would enter a business environment and it would be a one-size-fits-all experience are over. And I celebrate that. I think that is going to challenge us. It's going to help us evolve as people. I think it's going to make us more nimble. I think it's going to make us more effective. And I am excited to see people in the disability community challenge able-bodied people or people who do not live with a disability to do things differently and to expand what an experience should and could look like, right? So anybody who challenges you on the accessibility of your experience that you've created as a leader, or anyone who says to you, here's an opportunity for you to be more inclusive of the disabled community, you should receive that feedback with love and grace. Being a non-judgmental listener, we talked a lot today about vulnerability. We've talked a lot today about safety, security, feeling seen and acknowledged. Being a non-judgmental listener can only happen if people feel a sense of trust and if they feel honored as people. So being non-judgmental will help create those spaces and environments. And centering others in a conversation. I really like the fact that, especially, I've seen this in women specifically. As women, we often start by talking about ourselves, but then look for opportunities to position other people in the center. And while you should have absolutely no hesitation to center yourself as an authority, I think it's important sometimes as a leader to look for opportunities to decenter yourself and to center the experiences or comments, contributions of another person. So we've talked today about a lot of different things. There are so many things happening in Kansas City right now in the area of diversity and inclusion. I think the belonging conversation is something that after this discussion, hopefully you can insert into those conversations in your own organizations or companies. Belonging is the glue that keeps people invested in what you're doing. It is really the tie that binds. You can have diversity, equity, and inclusion, but without belonging, it can feel stale. It can feel trite. It can feel shallow and superficial. So I really work to create a sense of belonging whenever I'm doing this work, which lately is all the time. A summary of our session, we've talked about belonging in you, talked a little bit about your circle of influence and what you can do to create a sense of belonging. And I've given you some choices that create belonging. That's it. If you want to reach out to me, I'm available to you at Cori@missamerica.org. I'd love to hear from you. I'm happy to talk about partnerships or any other discussions you have about either the Miss America organization or the other work that I do. This has been a privilege. Thank you so much for your participation, your contributions today. It was an honor.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much, Cori, for joining us this morning. We really appreciated hearing from you and you sharing your wisdom with us. So we really appreciate you. And now we are going to switch over to our next presenter, Katie Lord.
Hi, everyone. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to try to bring up my presentation.
Yeah.
All right. Can everyone see this? Thumbs up. Nods. Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Katie Lord. I am Vice President of Nonprofit Development at Proof Positioning. And we're going to talk a little bit about building your personal board of directors, what that looks like, why that is important, and how you can kind of utilize your networks to create that safe space, if you will, of people that you can go to, show vulnerability to. They can give you great advice and talk about your career and be both personal and professional. So a little bit about me. I'm a KU grad, so Rock Chalk. Hope there's some other ones on here. Woohoo, yay. Been in the nonprofit sector pretty much my entire career. And I love nonprofits, so I'm definitely a nerd in that space. And love being here in Kansas City and getting to work with all the great clients that I get to work with here. So when we're talking about your personal board of directors, I think many of us think of a board of directors as, you know, either for a company or for a for-profit or nonprofit, and it's a group that sit around and decide the path of the organization. With your personal board of directors, it's a little bit different. I would say that you are in the driver's seat in this situation a little bit more than you would be in another if you were sitting on a board, but you need to be very thoughtful about what you want out of your board and communicate clear expectations. But this is also a way for you to take control of the path that you would like and seek a guidance from other people. So I love odd numbers. So I would say that your board of directors should be 5 to 7 people. I think if it gets a little bit too big, you can't really maybe gain the full access of and appreciation of what you are hoping to. So they help achieve your goals and dreams. So this is the group that you can be your authentic self with. You can talk about what you are hoping to achieve, and they are going to help lay that groundwork and put you on that path. They're going to provide candid feedback. So they're going to tell you the truth, even if the truth hurts, even if you might not want to hear it. And then they're going to offer kind of coaching and guidance and help you align with where your path needs to take you. And it can be personal, professional. You can have on your board of directors people that maybe are at the same place in their professional career with you or ahead of you in your professional career, or you can have people that are maybe going through a same personal experience. So maybe you're getting ready to have a baby and you're going to be transitioning in and then back into the workplace, or maybe you're getting married or having a divorce, or whatever that personal journey might be. You can also have people that are personally experiencing some things as you are. It doesn't just have to be professional. And I would say it's always important to have both on your board of directors. So have a good balance of personal and professional opportunities on your board of directors. So how do you identify it? I think the number one thing is, where do you find them? Where do you find your personal board of directors? And really, you probably already know a majority of them. So look around, and we're going to do an exercise next, but think about your circles of influence. Who do you look up to? Who do you read? Whose articles do you read? Who is a couple of steps ahead of you in your career? Who do you emulate when you look up? And it can be, it can be celebrities, but it might just be someone who you would like, eventually you would like their job. And that's a great mentor or a personal board of directors person. It should be a diverse group. So if you're a woman, which, most of us on the call are female, you need to have men and women. You need to have a diverse group of candidates, because they need to be of different ages. They need to come from different backgrounds than you. They really need to be representative of whose advice that you would really like to take, but also who can challenge maybe your perspectives, and who's going to see something a little bit different. Because if you just have a group that looks like you, then you're really not going to grow, because you're going to get into the dangerous position of groupthink. So really making sure that you have representation in your board of directors is incredibly important. And you should formalize a process. If you want someone to be on your board of directors, you're not going to hold a board of directors meetings where all of you get together and have drinks. You can, I've seen that work, but it also could be where you just know that you're going to check in once a month. You're going to have a phone call, a 30-minute phone call with one of my mentors. We have a standing Monday morning meeting once a month, and we get coffee once a month, every month, and it's a standing meeting, and we have an agenda, and we know what we're going to be talking about. And normally I'm the one who sets the agenda, but sometimes they set the agenda too, and they're like, I really need to follow up with you on a couple of things that we discussed and want to see where you're at, what action steps you've taken. But make sure that you have kind of a formalized process, because sometimes I think we can go down rabbit holes just because we genuinely like people. But with talking to your board of directors, it's really important that you have that agenda, and what specific things that they can help you with, so that you're making the best use of everyone's time. So when you're thinking of prospecting for your board of directors, everyone get out a piece of paper and maybe just write down 3 people from one of these groups. So you can have one person from each group. So who's a friend or a peer that you think, whose opinion you incredibly value? Who's someone at work? And we'll talk about that a little, in the next slide, we're going to talk about work. Who's someone in your community that you look up to? Who's a neighbor or someone in your faith-based organization, or another club that you you are interested in. And family, I would say this, it can't be your parents. Your parents cannot be on your board of directors. So, I would say, look at a little bit outside. Maybe it's a grandparent or an aunt or uncle or cousin or something like that. Somebody who you can feel really safe with, but maybe is a couple of steps removed away from you, that can also kind of give you a different perspective, especially on some personal matters. So I'm going to give everyone 2 or 3 minutes to write down who those people might be. And I will also say, you don't have to know the person right now either. If you don't know the person, that's okay. But if it's someone that you respect, we'll talk about that next, about how you can reach out and start that relationship. So if you don't know the person, but they're in your community and you respect them, or they're in, your circle of influence, or, 2 or 3 degrees of separation, that's okay. I'm gonna give us another minute. Everybody written down maybe 1 or 2? Nods, smiles, thumbs ups. Okay, great. Thank you, Abby-Cole. All right. So this is something, again, you're going to want to continue to think about afterwards as well. Oops, let me go on. Okay, so here's something to remember when you are thinking about who you want to be on your personal board of directors. Everyone's got an opinion, and sometimes opinions are welcome and sometimes they're not welcome. And it is up to you to decide what to take and what opinions not to take. But when selecting your personal board of directors, never take advice from someone that you would not want to trade places with. So really think about that. If, just because you might have different goals and dreams, that's okay. But if you would not want to trade places with that person, you can thank them for their opinion and kind of, shelve that away, because again, some people, you just might not want their opinion, and that's okay. But when you're selecting your board of directors, just really be thoughtful of if you would want to trade places with this person. So next, we're going to talk about advocates. Advocates are your work best friend. These are someone that is a peer to you. They're usually a peer within your organization. Doesn't have to be within your organization, but normally is within your industry. You kind of keep each other top of mind and informed, and you're each other's cheerleader in meetings. So if somebody says something, you're going to have their back and maybe echo that and expand their voice. They're also going to be the person that you're going to share information with. Obviously, if it's confidential information, you should probably not do that. But these are going to be the people that you share information with, and you make sure that, you lift each other up and have each other's back. This is also, this is your safe space and your support system. So should you be talking bad about people at work all the time? No. But if something really frustrating happens and you need to go vent, you can go and vent about a situation. You cannot vent about people, but you can vent about situations. Oh my gosh, I didn't read this email right, and now I'm running late, and blah blah blah, and I'm behind on this, and I'm super frustrated at myself or whatever. So this is your safe space at work. I always say it's great to have at least one advocate or work best friend at work. Studies consistently show that if you have a work best friend, you are more likely to enjoy your job. You end up actually staying longer at a position, and your engagement at work increases dramatically. So having a work best friend and identifying who that person is. And again, you might look around and go, well, I don't have a work best friend. Maybe it's someone who's in the same job title or is in the industry, but is in a different organization. Have that safe space where you can talk about industry issues. You can talk about things that would be similar in workplaces, but really have your kind of go-to confidant and have an advocate. What is different about an advocate is you're equal power. So there's not a power differential in this relationship. You both are kind of on an equal level or playing field. And so you don't have that power differentiation. So next is a mentor or a trusted advisor. These are usually in your profession, but don't have to be. And what a mentor does is they're going to give you candid advice and feedback. They're not going to do the work for you. So they are the person that you go to and say, I'm having this issue. What are your thoughts? I would like to do this. What do you think? They have a vested interest in your success. So this is normally somebody who I would say is probably 2 to 3 steps ahead of you in your career. There is a little bit of a power differential here, but is also going to be incredibly candid with you, that you can create that emotional safety with, and is going to give it to you straight, even if you don't want to hear it. And it can be formal or informal. So this can just be somebody that you go to coffee with, or this can be where you formally ask someone to mentor you and you lay out what that looks like and what that means to you. I do think it's incredibly important when you have a mentor, that you kind of lay some ground rules in your early meetings. So maybe that's, I'd like to meet with you once a month, or can I call you when I have a problem? Maybe you're going to have quarterly meetings. Maybe it's just going to be as issues arise, or you need assistance, or you want to celebrate something, that this is the person that you call. What I would say is, with a mentor, as I said previously, that they're not going to do the work for you, and they're more than likely going to they're going to be a little bit more hands off than hands on, as far as making introductions and advocating for you, but they're going to be your sounding board. I always think it's important to make sure that you talk about confidentiality with no matter who you have, just because that creates that psychological safety, and you really need to have that in order to be really candid. I think you can have, I get this question a lot. I think your boss can be your mentor in a way. However, there's a little bit of a gray area when your boss is your mentor, because there are probably some things that you can't say, or should not say in that sort of relationship, because you still have that, not only do you have that mentor-mentee relationship, but you also do have that supervisory relationship. And so I would say that, just as it strictly relates to your role in an organization, you can have a boss as a mentor, but saying that you want to leave the company or something like that maybe wouldn't be the best use of that sort of mentorship. But I have had several bosses that I consider mentors, that very much pushed and crafted me, and have been incredibly helpful. It's just knowing where those boundaries are and making sure that you are still kind of operating within the business that you are currently in and the organization that you're currently in. And then you have a sponsor, or you can have a sponsor. And so a sponsor is someone that they include some of the same characteristics as a mentor. They can be in a different industry. They're normally a lot further ahead of you in the career. So probably not just 2 to 3 steps, they might be 5 or 6 steps ahead of you, but they support you when you're not present. So a sponsor is someone who is, very well respected in an industry or within a community, and they will bring your name up when you're not there. So when you're not in the room, they're talking about you, they're advancing your career and your momentum. They are the ones that will bring you into spaces and say, hey, I'm going to this. I really think it would be great for you to come, and helps elevate your brand. So unlike a mentor, a sponsor is actually going to be kind of in the trenches with you, doing some of the work and making those introductions that are going to help you super advance or kind of get into spaces and build your brand. I would say that they also have kind of an advisory role as well. So I would say, and I'll talk about this in a minute, I'm very lucky that I would say I have 2 sponsors in the community that do a great job of bringing me into spaces that I would not normally be involved with. And I'm incredibly grateful. And it's kind of funny, because I would also say that it's a little bit of a two-way relationship, because I can give a much younger perspective on maybe some challenges that they're having with some of their younger staff members. And so we can have really, really diverse conversations. But they are, I will tell you, the first people that I call when something great happens, and they are the first people I call when something terrible happens. And with that advisory, they always preface their advice with, I know that you're going to make the right decision. Here's what I would do. Or if you're asking for my advice, and sometimes they will preface it with, do you want my feedback, or do you just want me to listen? And I think that that's something that's really incredible with both mentors and sponsors. But again, sponsors are going to be few and far between, and a mentor can turn into a sponsor, kind of as you kind of gain your relationship. Let's see. And then there's the coach. So the coach is a lot different than, I would say, any of the others. Any of the others are kind of a volunteer position. They're ones that you're just going to have kind of a personal relationship with. There's not money exchanged or anything like this. And with coaches, there can be a fee involved. But they are a completely objective third party. I call them your work therapist. So these are the ones that maybe are just going to help you. They're going to kind of come in, give you a tune-up, if you will, help you achieve a certain goal or skill, and then they'll kind of fade back out. And they're usually specific to certain skill sets and or an industry. So a great example is, there's sales coaches that will come in and help you refine your sales process. There are, communication coaches. There are public speaking coaches. So coaches usually have a very narrow niche, and they kind of help you really hyper focus on an area of growth opportunity or skill acquisition for you. That's not to say that you won't receive coaching from others. And coaches are not somebody that you're always going to have on your board of directors, but they are sometimes when you get stuck and wanting to go to the next level, it might be time to bring in a coach to kind of help you refine skills based on the feedback that you've received from mentors and sponsors and even advocates. So that is what a coach usually does. And there are great coaches, and literally there are coaches for absolutely everything. And so it's really just identifying someone who can work well with you. What I say about what I like when I'm looking for a coach is, I don't want someone who's going to be my best friend. I want someone that is going to personally challenge me in who maybe I wouldn't be friends with on another in another area, but who's really going to challenge and push me. But then other people are like, no, I want my coach to be like completely supportive, and you can find a coach for any. So it's really just matching your personality. So I did have one of my mentors who was going to be on, but unfortunately he is sick today, and kind of called at the last minute this morning. But just to give examples, so during this time, I would like to see, does anyone have any questions, or would someone like to share a story of a mentor or a sponsor, maybe how they acquired that mentorship or sponsor, and kind of share their story with the group? Do you have any brave souls?
Katie, it's Selena.
Hi, Selena.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sometimes when you meet people, probably maybe even some people in this Zoom here, you find out that I don't do anything casual. So like a casual friendship is kind of a hard thing for me to think about, only meeting somebody once a month and having that. But you meet some people who are coaches professionally, and you don't know, there's like a pay to play, and you don't know, hey, are we friends and I can get your experience and some guidance from a friendship, or should I actually be paying you for these services? I think there's sometimes that awkward feeling when you meet people who do things in that realm. How do you approach them to set an expectation for the friendship or the mentorship, so you don't have this awkwardness of, should I?
I think you just hit it head on. So, I mean, so one of my mentors actually does coaching and board development and other things. And that was just something that, we had kind of a conversation about. And yes, it was slightly uncomfortable, but we set very clear expectations. And so I think just, when you're having someone, just being very clear of, okay, here's how I just want to make sure we're on the same page, so that you don't feel that I'm taking advantage of, the situation. Can you tell me kind of what your expectations are for non-paying, friendship? And if I start, asking for too much advice or something like that, please let me know, and I can go from there. or we can, just be sure to just set clear boundaries, I guess, is the thing, is to say, here's how I view our relationship. Are we on the same page? Lay that out, and then give them permission if you start crossing the line for what would be a paying work for them to give them the opportunity to say that to you. And to just say, well, that goes into a little bit more of my coaching, because they're making a living and this is what they do. So just setting those clear expectations. So I normally will say, here's what I'm thinking, what are your expectations of this relationship? And then what would a paying relationship look like? Does that make sense? It's a difficult conversation. It's not the best. It's not the most comfortable conversation to have, but I had one of those conversations, and then that person became my coach, and then now we're friends again. So it was one of those that I probably crossed the line. She let me know, and then we set up that relationship, and then now we're kind of just back to the friends, because I did need some assistance, and she had that expertise. Any other questions, or does anyone want to share a mentorship sponsorship story?
I'll share one, Erica, or Katie, talking about myself, since it involves you. I met Katie through the Centurions program, and she was just randomly assigned as my mentor through that program as a second year and me as a first year. And we got coffee several times and kind of just talked about life stuff. And then she kind of transitioned, I feel like, into a role as a sponsor, because when she heard about a position opening up at Junior Achievement, she came to me and said, hey, are you even looking for a job? Because I found one that I think would fit you really well. And, let me know if it's something you're interested in. And it led me to the most amazing, fulfilling job that I've ever had. And it was all because we had that connection and built up that relationship through Centurion's mentorship. And it was kind of the first time that had happened to me. You always hear relationships are how careers move forward. And it was just a completely different hiring experience, having that kind of into that, knowing about that position and knowing about it. And I still had to, send in my resume, cover letter, all that stuff. But there was a lot more trust in the process because it was built on a relationship. And it wasn't just me submitting my information to a black hole of, resume scanners on a thing. So that was really, really helpful. And I've always really valued Katie's willingness to kind of advocate and lift others up around her.
Oh, thank you, Erica. What I would also say too is, mentorships and sponsorships, I think sometimes people wonder what the time limit is on that as well. And so know that, I definitely believe in seasons of life. So there might be a reason or a season that people are your mentor, and then you'll, kind of naturally grow apart, or you'll get even tighter. So having, again, just, knowing that when you're building your board of directors, different people will kind of come in and out, and that's okay. Are there any other questions?
I just did a quick share on a mentorship. My name is Dina. Hi, everybody. First of all, I think this forum is great. So I just want to say thank you guys for putting this on. I think it's very beneficial, and the presentations so far have been very, it's resonated in a lot of ways and just helpful reminders. My mentor actually is currently my boss, and he wasn't previously at my work, at where I work. So I've been at this organization for 5.5 years, and really how that relationship started was he interviewed me, and it was literally a 15-minute coffee because I was interviewing for a different role under his organization. But as I kind of hit this stale part of my career, I just kept asking for more. And I said, hey, I don't know a lot about this area. And I was very transparent, very, very vulnerable. That's kind of how I operate. There's no gray matter. So it was I don't know a lot about this organization, but if I understood more, I think I could be more effective in my role. How can I learn more? Because I think saying that and showing your ability to want to learn more, I think is very valuable. So that helped really open up the mentorship, sponsorship, in getting to know different people who are now on my personal board of directors. So I'm very humble for my current boss, but he also gives me a lot of autonomy, and I realize that always does not happen in a work setting, or whether that's, female to female or female to male or what have you. But for me, the key really was just raising my hand and saying, I want to know more. I think I can be more valuable if I know more, which is throwing yourself out there in a very vulnerable way. But when you have people who are confident in themselves and not insecure, it's kind of like, throwing out that fishing line. If it sits out there long enough, the right person will catch it. And it's taken my whole career to have somebody do that in a way that's been positive. So anyway, I just wanted to do that as a share in case that was sitting on somebody's mind on how to do it next.
That's so great. And also what I would say is exactly what you just said. Asking for feedback is just as hard as giving feedback. So giving people the permission to give you that feedback and to make it safe for them to do that really can open that. So thank you so much for sharing. That's excellent. All right. Well, that's kind of it, guys. So if there's any questions, let me know. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to anybody about this. But go back, be thoughtful about who you would like to know. If you find somebody, so let's say that there's somebody that's 2 or 3 steps ahead of you in your career, reach out on LinkedIn. I honestly find somebody who knows that person, see if they'll give you a warm introduction, ask that person for a 30-minute, coffee or introduction. And what I would say when you are asking someone to be your mentor, come as prepared as you can, and they'll tell you what they want. But I always have like my resume and things like that, just so they understand, just so it's like, here's a little bit about me if you don't know me, so that they can kind of get a snapshot for, what I'm about. We can have that conversation, and, it might take 1 or 2 coffees before you're like, okay, I want this person to be my mentor. Or you might have it in your head that after that 1 coffee, you're like, oh, wow, that's, I don't think we're going to click on that, which is totally fine. But, I think it's just super important, especially right now when we're all feeling so disconnected, to have those people that you can, call, text, email, that are going to get right back to you, that are going to be that part of your community that you can have, those vulnerable conversations with, but also that can help you, plot your career and your next steps, or, help you through a difficult time personally. So thank you so much to JA for letting me be here. I'm so excited. This is such an amazing group of women. It's an amazing opportunity. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
All right. Thank you so much, Katie, for sharing with us today. I know I got a lot out of that presentation, and I'm sure everyone in this room did. So we appreciate you being here and taking the time. We always love to hear from you. And thank you for being a JA champion as well. We really appreciate all the work that you do. So now we are going to pivot to Beth and her co-presenter, Rachel. They are from the Women's Foundation, and we are going to hear about empowering women to serve in civic leadership roles. So Beth and Rachel, whenever you are ready.
Hi, thanks so much for having us. I'm so excited to be a part of this event. So important, so important. So my name is Beth Felski, and I'm the Appointments Project Director for United We, which is formerly the Women's Foundation. And this is a recent change for us, and we're excited to have our new name and to be inclusive of a variety of groups, and just excited also to be here today and share that with you. So United We advances all women's economic and civic leadership. So we do this through our research and policy while advancing for programs and policies that do 3 things: empower women, support families, and strengthen our communities. So what we basically do is we make it easy for women to become civically engaged and serve on boards and commissions. And what I'm going to talk about today is more civic leadership in general. And what is civic leadership? What does the research tell us? Why it's important, and how you can be civically engaged. So civic leadership. Civic leadership is different than other types of leadership. When we talk about civic leadership, we're talking about areas that impact community. So these positions, they might be volunteer, they might be appointed, elected, or nominated. So civic leaders really kind of shape the growth of a community, and they impact policy. They can transform decisions into action. So civic leadership is really important, especially in terms of a quality community and quality of life. So at United We and with the Appointments Project, everything we really do is driven by our research. So research-based facts about women. And it's really interesting to me to be able to kind of connect the dots with our research. So one of the things that we wanted to determine in terms of civic engagement for women is, are local governments aware that there's disparities in leadership and civic leadership, that there's not a lot of women at the table? What do women think about civic leadership? Are they interested in being civic leaders? And maybe, why aren't there more women stepping up to apply for positions? Or maybe they are applying and they're just, not getting appointed. So these are some of the things we wanted to find out from our research. So here we have lots of numbers and stats, as most research does, but here you can kind of see the numbers and the stats. They tell us a lot, right? So according to the National Conference of State Legislators and the Center for American Women in Politics and Records Institute for Politics, the numbers kind of say it all here. You can see where both Kansas and Missouri fall in terms of women serving in the state legislature. And it's ironic because we know that communities really benefit when women serve. Our research tells us it improves organizational effectiveness. It increases bipartisanship. We find that women, especially in elected office, are more likely to cross between party lines to really get things accomplished. Women legislators have also, they might approach issues different from men. They might prioritize different issues from men, just completely different perspectives. And that diversity really improves our public trust, because all those, these positions and boards should be reflective of our communities. So here's some numbers nationwide you can see. And the thing I want to point out is only 8.8% of U.S. congresswomen are women of color. This is something we really need to be aware of and continue to work on and continue to research what the barriers are and what we can do. Another thing that we looked at is low participation from women and, kind of what women personally felt about civic leadership. They felt that they lacked the knowledge and expertise. Some were thinking they would be asked, but weren't asked to serve. Women, really want their time to be used efficiently. I think, women sometimes often are the caregivers and also working. And so they feel like they're already spread thin. So the idea of, maybe getting engaged in something that, has meetings and other commitments, they're a little hesitant to do that. And then they also, felt like they needed some support and knowledge, a sense of belonging. And I know we talk a lot about mentors, but mentors are really important in civic leadership. And then women also we're wanting more training and resources. And this is all based on a study that we did with the University of Kansas. So why is it important? Why do we need women? We talked about it a little bit, but why do we need women in civic leadership roles? That public trust, we know that when women serve, it boosts efficiency. Obviously, improving and impacting the lives of the residents, but also drives innovation, which I think is really interesting. And if you look at some, issues that are going on today, and as we move forward, we'll be getting lots more information about the impact of COVID, and women's role in policy regarding COVID is something that our organization is taking a close look at. And so I definitely see moving forward, you'll see a lot more information on this. So what's in it for you? So you're thinking about a leadership, civic leadership position, and you might be thinking, well, why should I do this? We know it benefits the community, but we also know it provides a lot of benefits for you as an individual, leadership growth, personal and career development, broaden your personal and professional network. And I think this is huge. You get exposure to folks that might think differently than you, different priorities, different experiences, and the more opportunity to do that, as well as make an impact in your community, are all just, some, and the benefits vary they're different for everyone. But lots of opportunity there for self-growth. So civic engagement opportunities. There are so many ways to get involved civically in the community. A lot of it, first of all, is just, be aware of what's going on in your community. What are the needs? What are the issues? What are people talking about? Are they talking about, could be anything from, health issues or accessibility, or it might be, something like trash service, just so many variety of issues that impact the people in your community. Student and city youth councils are a great way to get involved, and also to meet some great mentors. A lot of women too, who maybe haven't been out in the workforce, recently, joining a parent teachers association is a great way to get engaged or re-engaged. That is civic leadership, as well as homeowners associations. Great way to get out into your community. You can attend city council, and a lot of these meetings right now are online and virtual. So great way to learn. You can go to the city's website and view some of these meetings, or the county website, and just kind of see, wow, what are they talking about? What are the issues, and how does that affect me? Getting to know your elected officials. This one I'm really passionate about. Know who your representatives are, where you live, who your Senate or representative is, because if you establish those relationships, then when there is an issue, you already have that relationship there, so you can reach out to them and talk to them about that. Obviously, if you're old enough to vote, go out and vote. That's really important right now. Or you can assist on a campaign. At any age, you can assist with a campaign. Great way to learn a lot. Be an advocate, talk with your community leaders about issues that are important to you and important to your community, your friends, and your neighbors. So the Appointments Project, once again, and that's kind of my role with United We, and we focus on a lot of services and resources for women, mostly in terms of getting involved on boards and commissions. And so we facilitate that process, we guide women through, and then we also at United we're the voice of the research we find, so we can spread the word. And then we continue to advocate for women, children, and their families. I'm going to switch over now to Rachel, and she is going to talk about some internship opportunities. Hi, everybody. See if you can hear me. Okay. Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I just wanted to share a little bit about our internship program. In addition to working as the Director of Operations, I also manage our internship program. And we have 7 interns per quarter. Am I echoing for everybody? Okay, it sounds like it's going okay. We take 7 interns per quarter. The grades, we start with 9th grade all the way through post-grad, so we do have some graduate students. We take interns from 4 weeks even to a full year. We look for just a resume and a cover letter and an interest in working with our organization. United We has a broad mission, and so I think that would be interesting to a lot of different students. We take applications both from young men and young women, so we are looking to diversify our intern pool as well. We are hoping to not only educate young people on how to become civically engaged before, say, running for office or being appointed to a board and commission, but we want to try to marry those two. And so while we're doing professional development, working on team presentations, copywriting, interns will be working with our database coordinator as well as with myself on daily operations and vendor management. We also work to help students network along the way and create a civic engagement pathway for themselves along with a career map for the next few years. So it's something I'm really passionate about. I'm excited to get young people engaged in Kansas City and also with our mission. This is a rolling application process, so we take applications from students all throughout the year, and I hope we can find a place for everybody that is interested. But you'll see my contact information here. Again, my name is Rachel Holloway. I'm the Director of Operations, and my email's listed, but we will provide some more information after the presentation. Thank you. Okay. Can everyone hear me okay? Hopefully. Just in closing, thank you, Rachel. Just in closing, here's our contact information. I encourage you to follow us on social media. We really have some fun things going on social media, just about local events, a lot about celebrating women. Really, we're doing some really fun things with social media. So like us, follow us on Twitter. We're also on Facebook. Lots of exciting things going on for not only the Appointments Project, but United We. So thanks so much for having us. I wish you all the best of luck, and please reach out to us with any questions.
All right. Again, thank you, Rachel and Beth, for sharing with us. We loved hearing about all of the work that United We is doing, and hope that many people on this call take advantage of the great internship program you all have, and we're able to get some great future leaders. So we just want to, again, thank all of you for being with us today at our Future Women's Leadership Forum. We hope that in the spring, when we offer this again, we hope that we can be back in person together in our new space. But we have enjoyed this virtual setting, and it's been a great discussion and just a great time to get together and chat with others this morning. So again, we just are so grateful to our sponsors for allowing this event to be possible. So Bank of America, CNA, and SCORE, we are so appreciative, and we are so excited that they have jumped on board and are supporting the young women in our community. So if anyone has any questions, we will stay on the line for a few more minutes to answer any questions or discuss anything you would like to chat about. But otherwise, again, we appreciate your time. We will be sending out an email with today's recording, so feel free to watch that back and share with others as you see fit. So thanks, guys. Have a good day.